Karma, karma, karma. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the focus group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. We are at the end of Pride Month.
Happy Pride, and the top of the Pride too. Yeah, the Pride Leprechaun is going back in the box for another year, but we'll celebrate his appearance now, right?
Back in the box. So thanks for joining us here on our Wednesday show. We hope you're also enjoying our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned, which is available every Tuesday. Find all of our media at focusgroupradio.com and also find more about us there. Also, head over to tribeca.co if you're looking to do any business. John and I have our business. That's our agency website's there. And you know what? You can advertise on the show. It's not a lot of money sometimes. I mean, it's going to cost you. But probably not as much as something. So head over to our website at focusgroupradio.com. Thanks to our sponsors that are there. You'll see links to them also. And start shopping with them, particularly Deep Discount, which John and I will talk about later on in the show with a couple of picks that we have. Also, we'll do Caught My Eye in our first half of the show here, as well as our Deep Discount segment, some banter that we'll get to in a second about particularly with Mr. Nash. And then we'll take a quick break. Then we'll come back and do our famous business birthday, and then some shop talk, which will talk about some businesses and Pride, and also some workplace issues. So that will be toward the end of our show in our Shop Talk segment. So, but before we get there, Mr. Nash, we had talked on last week's show about you attending the Tribeca Film Festival because you were in a film that was debuted this past week called Coded. So why don't you tell us about your experience on the red carpet?
Yeah, it was a very, very fun night. And just to give you some background, so many months ago, we were contacted by a production company that wanted to talk to Tim and I about our experience with Subaru and with creating a very, very famous 15-year campaign, which involved a lot of coded imagery. In other words, you might see an ad in the Advocate or something, and the headline might evoke a certain thing, and the consumer would connect the dots. And if you were LGBTQ, it was meant for you, etc. And out of that, they invited me to sit last October to be interviewed on camera to discuss the life of an illustrator named J.C. Leyendecker, who's best known for creating the Arrow shirt collar man, perhaps one of the first sex symbols of that century, because he was working in the 20s and 30s. And it was all about how he coded his imagery with how he portrayed males, etc., because he himself was gay, and his partner ended up being his model for many of the people that he painted or many of the compositions he put together. So I sat for the interview. It was like 2 hours long. I did pickups in January, and then they announced that, and all through this thing, the production company was fantastic, great people to work with. But, they're making a movie. It takes a while. So then they announced that they were in the Tribeca Film Festival, and it was in the shorts program, and I got invited to attend, and there was a cocktail party beforehand. Then we walked the red carpet, which was always fun. And then I sat and watched the movie, and the movie was really well done. So it's called Coded, and it's produced by Procter & Gamble, and the P&G people were really, really fun to hang out with and be around. I asked them at one point, what's Procter & Gamble making content for? And one of them said, well, we've been doing this for years. It's, all As the World Turns was brought to you by, they made the soap opera, right? And so the minute you connect it, right, Procter & Gamble and soap, you're like, okay, I get it. So they're well aware of how to create memorable content for their audiences. Film was a lot of fun to watch, some beautiful animation, and it was a well-told story, and it won Best Short Picture at the Tribeca Film Festival. And I had everybody kept saying to me when they met me, "Oh, we feel like we know you already, because we've seen the film about 100 times, and you have the laugh line. You have the laugh line." I won't say what it is, but I do think that they analyzed that pretty well, because when that portion came, I'm not on it a lot. There's some voices that are definitely more dominant than mine and should be, like an art historian, the woman who runs Judith Cutler, who runs the American Illustrator Museum up in Newport, which features many Leyendecker prints and works. But when I did say this particular line about an illustration he did, the audience did laugh. So I did have the laugh line, which I liked. But it was just a wonderful evening. And it was really great to be a part of what a really great project, a cool film, a story that was really, really deserving to be told, and a great bunch of people to work with. So all in all, great experience.
Can you download the movie? I tried to find it on
I'm not sure
a
you
couple
could
of
do
the
that
streaming
yet.
services.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't. They said they were negotiating with some of the platforms for distribution, but I'm not sure you can get it yet. Soon, hopefully, maybe you can get it at iTunes or something. I'll keep people informed. But 28 minutes, really well done. I was super impressed, and especially with the process they go through when you make a documentary. You don't always know what you're going to get when you're recording this stuff, and the story sort of informs the structure of the picture as opposed to creating a movie that's based on a story you create. So all really, really fun. Well done. Great experience, and it was a nice showcase for some of the work that Tim and I have done in the past with Subaru.
Quick question about him. Did he do so aside from doing advertising work, did he just do other print sort of stuff?
Best known for the covers of the Saturday Evening Post. He created his version of Santa Claus is the one we actually all know and love, the Jolly Rotund guy. I think he maybe had one or two or three more covers than Norman Rockwell did, and that's an interesting thing about J.C. Leyendecker is Rockwell, he was a mentor to Norman Rockwell, who in many ways is better well known because of his Americana thing. And there is thought process that maybe Leyendecker's career was sidelined, or he may be a little more obscure because of the fact that he was gay, and that was known by many people at the time. And that we're talking about the 20s and 30s, and that was you didn't you didn't advertise that too much, right?
So if you had an original Leyendecker, then it could be. I mean, are they worth money, sort of thing? I don't know if that's a crass thing to ask.
No. The actual paintings that the illustrations and the prints were created from are worth a fortune because there's not many left. In fact, upon his death, he asked his lover Charles to destroy most of his work. So if you have something, you might have bought something for a couple $1,000 many, many years ago. It could be worth quite a lot now because there's not much of it.
I wonder why he wanted it destroyed.
He felt that he had been, after this glittering career, they had a house up on the Hudson, up in the Hudson Valley, that they had big cocktail parties and all the famous people of the day came through. And then it went from that to being basically an obscurity. And I think that would kind of be a shattering thing. So yeah, I won't say too much more, but Coded, and it's really well done. The director did a great job, Ryan White.
Well, I would like to, I want to see it. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
Like it was a fun night. You'd sent some pictures, and it looked like it was a fun. You said it was quintessential New York.
Yeah, the Tribeca held the City's back. Tribeca held the Shorts Festival at the Hudson Yards, which is famous for this thing called the Vessel. It's a sculpture you can climb up. It looks like a horn upside down, actually, but it's made of metal. It's really cool. And so it was outside, the moon was out, and you're sitting there looking at all these skyscrapers in the Vessel. And I had come via the new Patrick Moynihan train hall because the subway lets you out there. And I had never seen the new train station, which is replacing Penn Station. And my God, it's magnificent. Finally, a place you can hang out and wait for a train that rivals Union Station. Or what's the station? 30th Street is your...
30th in Philly. What are they going to do with the old one now?
I have no idea. I think New York. I think Long Island Railroad still has their commuters cycling through there, so that's possible for that. But the new one looks. It's just like sparkling glass ceiling. It's a train station. It looks great.
What the city deserves.
Yeah.
Well, what the country deserves. Infrastructure, people, write your senators. Infrastructure.
Say it loud and clear. Yeah.
Now we'll get dinged. We talked about politics.
I'm not so sure about that, but that'll be worth seeing,
that's
right?
That's what happens. So, well, good. That was a fun story. So, Mr. Nash, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
All right. I never get tired of these stories, but a guy who was apparently dating two women, or left one, was dating the other. The two women who he was dating hooked up, became friends, and decided to get him back. So the headline reads, cheating boyfriend gets dumped in Turkey by two women on his vacation. And the quote is, heard every word. So these women are from Houston. Houston residents Kristen Bishop and Sophie Miller planned an international breakup with Adam. That's not his real name. They didn't get mad. They got even. Engineer Kristen Bishop, she's 33, and a technical sales manager, Sophie Miller, 26, planned a girls-only vacation getaway to Turkey unbeknownst to their unfaithful partner and confronted him about his cheating ways in an airport in Istanbul. The former boyfriend, who they are calling Adam, false, had been dating Bishop for 8 months before his two-timing had been revealed. According to Kennedy News, Miller contacted Bishop in March of 2021 and left a voicemail explaining that she'd been dating Adam for 9 months. The pair allegedly confirmed they were both seeing the same man over a FaceTime call that showed Miller inside Adam's apartment. So can you imagine when you realize that you're calling this woman and you're both dating the same guy and he's been lying to both of you? Bishop's learning of Adam's betrayal just so happened to occur 4 days before the couple planned to travel to Turkey, she told the British news agency. It didn't take long for the two Texans to bond and hatch their revenge plan. The pair kept their exchanges private and traveled on separate flights. They confronted him in the airport. His reaction was pretty stunned. He had never been speechless before until that moment. Not only had Bishop and Miller broken off their relationships with Adam, 34, but they also informed him that all the reservations in his name had been changed to Miller's, including a river cruise, Turkish bath and cave tour. And they left him at the airport. That was it. They left him at the airport and they said, goodbye, two-timing guy, you're out of here. So they took the trip that was meant for the guy and the girl, these two that discovered that they were dating the same guy and he was two-timing them. And now they went on this fabulous trip and they're now friends.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's hysterical. I think that he definitely got what he deserved, right? I mean, you land in Istanbul for the trip of your life, and you're out of the bathroom comes the other woman that you've been dating secretly, and they announce, hey, guess what? We're friends now. We've talked it through, and we're leaving on the trip, and you have a good time, and we're going on the river cruise, the whole bit, right? And boom, out you go.
It's like that show. Remember that show Cheaters? I think from the 90s.
I love Cheaters. I love that show. They were hired by the people to catch the cheating spouse or the boyfriend or something, right? Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Well, I had a friend of you know him too, whose dad had two wives, was married and had two families going at the same time.
And they never knew?
No, until the one time he got the checks mixed up. He told one family he would spend the weekends with one family and the weekdays with another family. And then one day got the checks went to the wrong house. And the one woman called the other woman and found out that in fact he had these two marriages, two wedding ceremonies. Now you would think the one would ask the other what, I don't know. He was pretty good about
two distinct families.
Two families, two wedding ceremonies, imagine trying to keep it all straight. What do you do at the holidays?
I guess someone gets Christmas Eve, someone gets Christmas Day. I don't know. I don't know how people pull that off. It's really quite a feat. And isn't it a little bit greedy? Just a little bit.
Well, it was shocking to me, but anyway. Yeah.
So
our friend just kind of took it in stride.
That's the way it goes.
That's Dad. So so that's kind of karma, and mine was a karma story too. And I want to see how you would have handled this. We initially pulled this, or I had pulled this for our podcast TFG Unbuttoned, but we didn't use it. So I just decided to use it here. This happened over Memorial Day weekend, and this was a group of boaters. They were the headline is "Ungrateful Homophobe Soils Pants After Exploding Boat Rescue." So there was a group of people that were LGBT, and in this case, I think a couple of them were trans. They were out in a boat in Lake Washington, they're out in a boat in the state of Washington on Moses Lake over the Memorial Day weekend. And were flying a pride. They were out on the boat enjoying themselves, and they had been flying a pride flag on their boat. And a couple of these yahoos began circling the boat, giving them the finger, bullying them, yelling homophobic slurs, getting real close to them, making waves, and really just harassing them in the family. And it was this family that was out on this boat in Lake Washington. So they're racing around, calling gay slurs. And then as they were circling and took off and went away, their boat caught on fire and blew up. The homophobes. So
That's my favorite part of it. Yeah.
So they are now all jumping out of the water and screaming, and they want to be rescued. So they posted this on Twitter, and it went on TikTok, and of course it was viral and the whole thing. And it shows the one woman in the homophobe boat giving him the finger before it blew up and the whole deal. So before I finish the story, so they want to be rescued. So here's this, the boat with the transgender and the gay people and that were being harassed. What do you do?
They saved them, if I know the story correctly. They were
Well, I'm
actually.
asking you, what do you do?
Well, I would save them, but my gut would be to zoom away. Vroom. But
See, I would not have saved him at all. I guess I'm a bastard. I would not have even have thought of saving him. Here's why. Two things. First of all, I'm looking at the lake. They could swim.
Mm-hmm.
It's close enough that they can go somewhere. And there was also patrol boats out there that were going to rescue them, which eventually the fireboat came and put the fire out. So I would not have, because here's what then happens. So the people that were being bullied and harassed, of course, are nice, and they save them. They rescue them. They pull them on board. And they said after being pulled from the water, the homophobic bunch continued their inconsiderate ways. One man pulling out a rescued vape pen and began smoking it despite them saying not to do it because somebody was asthmatic in the boat. Another one was humiliated because the copious amounts of waste he had allegedly expelled out of fear. So he was sitting there with shit in his pants. And they were just generally being very rude to the people that had just rescued them on the boat. And so when the fire department and the police finally came to put the fire out, whatever, they found out that what had happened was because they were driving and hot dogging this boat so much that the boat, it damaged the carburetor. And the boat had taken on too much water, it stalled, and then the accumulated fumes had ignited the boat because of the high rate of speed when they took off, and that's how the boat caught on fire. I'd have let him swim to shore.
Well, especially after this behavior, now you feel like just dumping him over the side. Like, get out. I had not read that. I had not known that they continued that crazy behavior.
Yeah, they were not grateful by the fact that they were rescued, and I think so. That's why I think in these sort of situations, you want to act a fool, you're going to be treated like a fool, and you want to, So I would have not have rescued them because now listen. Maybe that's mean to me, but guess what? If you call me all kinds of slurs and act like that, now I'm looking at the pictures, and if you're watching the video, you'll see it's close enough they could have swam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let them swim to shore.
Yeah, the lake edge does appear to be within reach for a decent, able-bodied swimmer, right?
Yeah. And can you imagine if you rescue them and pull them on the boat and they're still acting like a-holes?
That's the part I didn't know. I knew the first part of the story that they had, circled the boat and they were being really idiotic and nasty and throwing those slurs. And then I knew they were rescued, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. That you just gave me a whole new ripple on that. That the rescue actually ended up in them being tormented further, having done a good deed, right? So this proves that proves this thing that we were taught as kids: no good deed goes unpunished. Tim, say Tim.
I know they pooped their pants too, which I think is great. They all crap their pants. So anyway, hey, we want to thank our friends at Deep Discount. They've been a sponsor of ours here for quite a while on the focus group, and they've got a summer site-wide sale going on right now. And if you head over to focusgroupradio.com, you can click on the Deep Discount logo and start shopping away. What did you find this week, Mr. Nash?
All right, I went for a Pride title. Happy Pride, says the Pride Leprechaun. Top of the Pride to you. And I went with Jeffrey. Jeffrey's a movie that came out back in 1995, and it stars Steven Weber as Jeffrey. He was on Wings as a struggling New York actor who decides he's going to give up sex forever. No sooner does he make that commitment than he meets sensitive Steve, who actually is Michael T. Weiss from The Pretender. And, of course, there's a great supporting cast. Patrick Stewart plays a gay man called Sterling. And the movie progresses from there. Writer is Paul Rudnick. It's hilarious. It's fun. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm planning on picking it up, and that's going to be the way I'm going to celebrate Pride. $17.39 on Blu-ray, which is a great price. I was looking for another title that many might remember called Trick, and that was Tori Spelling. It's hard to find, actually. I don't even know if it's still available on DVD or Blu-ray. But so Jeffrey is my pick. What did you pick this week, Mr. Bennett?
So I was going to do the same thing you did. Do you know, just off the top of your head, what they say now is the modern number one LGBT film everybody should have? Just off the top of your head.
Call Me by Your Name?
No.
Brokeback Mountain?
Brokeback Mountain.
Is the modern... You see, you and I liked Brokeback. I
did
didn't
too,
I
but
didn't love it.
I was surprised.
It's a really good film, and it has some great casting and great acting, but it's not my top, but it is on my list. But I know what you mean. Okay,
Yeah.
what'd you
Yeah.
pick this week?
So as I was going through, I picked, just because I love this movie so much, Argo.
Adore this movie.
And,
Oh my god.
And I liked it too, only because I think it was a time when foreign affairs and our allies were in concert with one another, and hopefully that's all happening again now that we have some new leadership. But stars Ben Affleck, Alan Arkin is great in it, John Goodman. And it's about the Iranian hostage crisis where, as you know, we were in 1979 when our embassy was taken over. There were 6 people from the embassy that slipped away and hid out in Ken Taylor, who is the Canadian ambassador's house. And they were hanging out there. They were afraid they were going to get captured and killed. They concoct this scheme that Hollywood's making a movie with the CIA and give these people Canadian passports. Real life. You can't imagine this happening.
Yeah.
This was classified info till recently. But even though you know what's going to happen in the movie, it's a great movie. You can get it on Blu-ray for under $10.
$7.15. It's an amazing price. And Tim, I'm so glad you picked this. You and I love this movie. I remember when you saw it and you said to me, "We know how it ends. They get him out."
Right.
But I was still on the edge of my seat watching this. Really super well done movie.
Yep.
Love Argo. And what is the release this week? I think is so perfect for Happy Pride, right? It's Diana at 60. And the director is Robin Baxter, and it features interviews with people who knew her throughout her brief and inspiring life, including Hillary Clinton, Lana Marks, Barbara Daly, Derek Dean, Donna Toffolo, I think that's a counselor, and the list goes on. But this, I think it's reminiscence. It's a special interest documentary like Diana. What Diana at 60, meaning we're six. She would have been 60. We're taking a look at her life, the whole bit, and it's only $11.99 on DVD. And I think it's so perfect given all the recent royal stuff. So,
what do you think she would be like?
God, I don't know. It's when I watch The Crown, which I know is fiction, or I watch just documentaries about her. What an amazing woman, right? And what a cool legacy. I don't know. I it would be curious to see how that would have played out had she lived.
Yeah.
So a big thanks to Deep Discount again. We want you to visit focusgroupradio.com. Start your shopping there by clicking on the Deep Discount logo, and it's a site-wide sale. I picked Jeffrey in honor of Pride. Happy Pride, top of the Pride to you. Tim picked Argo, fantastic movie, and the release this week is Diana at 60, which is a documentary and a biography film. So we urge you to check out deepdiscount.com. We are going to take a super quick break, and when we come back, we have Shop Talk and Business Birthday, so stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash.
Happy Pride and the Pride Leprechaun.
Happy Pride, and we're here on the East Coast, but for those of you joining us on the iHub network out in Palm Springs, it's just as hot here.
True. True.
Probably more muggy.
Yeah, well, we have the humidity. They have that dry heat that soars to 110. Like your sandals melt on the sidewalk in front of the CVS.
Not so dry anymore. They keep pumping all that water in the atmosphere. There with their golf courses and green lawns.
Yeah. Listen to you complain. Yeah.
John, I'm moving. And
this is why we have your space age blank background, because you are in an empty room, right?
I'm in an empty room in an empty house in a northern town. But and I'm heading to the second town in the first state. But I had Richard had told me we're not moving wrapping paper, so I had this whole tub of wrapping paper, and I had calculated some of it I had bought in 1986.
Wow! But you probably it's the big rolls, right? The stuff that lasts forever.
It was pretty cool wrapping paper, some of it. Now there was one that was politically incorrect wrapping paper I can't talk about right now, but and it moved with me. I thought all these different places. This wrapping paper had traveled from Pennsylvania to Oregon to Minnesota to Illinois and New Jersey and so forth and so on, back to Pennsylvania. So I put it out front, and sure enough, people did grab it.
Oh, good. I didn't know the end of that story. So things were taken. Things were going to be reused. Okay.
So I did put a bunch of things out on the. I put a bunch of things out on the lawn, free, and
Yeah.
so I had a dog bed that was Trixie's. Trixie had passed, and the dog bed was not that old. It was only I think, slept on it once.
Oh, okay.
And I hated to throw it away, and none of my friends wanted it, but some woman had a slew of dogs on a leash. She must be a dog walker or something, so she had taken the dog bed. And then there were some odd things that people took, and there were things that people left that to me were equally as odd. But people took an apple core thing, like you put over an apple.
With this, and it makes it like the pie slices.
Yep.
One of my favorite things. I love those. You
It's
had
a good one.
Why'd you get rid of it? You have more than one?
I had one at the beach.
Okay, all right. You only need one, honestly.
Only need one.
Yeah.
And I was yelled at because I'm taking 3 umbrellas. So anyway, I'm trying to do the right thing. But anyway, so next week I'll be coming from another a small state in the South. But so we'll be doing the show from down there. But so that was that. So hey, we have our business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Have you ever heard of John Shepard Barron?
No, not at all. Not until you sent these images and the text, and I'm like, this is fascinating. So do tell.
Yeah, I never heard of him either. He's born June 23rd in 1925. He's a Brit by nature. He was a British inventor who led the team that installed the very first cash machine, often referred to as an ATM or an automated teller machine.
Do you remember? Wait, pause. College. Do you remember we used to be able to take out tens, or you could take 10, 15, 5? Remember they used to give out fives back in the day?
Fives.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, this initial machine, they said the limit at this machine when it first started was 10 pounds, and they said that was enough for a wild weekend in London. 10 pounds now wouldn't get you a pint, I don't think, in London.
No.
Certainly not a wild weekend. So he was born in India to British parents. His dad was a chief engineer in Bengal as part of the British Empire for some sort of port authority over in India. His mom was an Olympian and tennis player, also won the ladies' doubles championship at Wimbledon. And he was in the military for a while. He ended up in the 50s joining something called De La Rue, which I guess is a banking company. I don't know. Or it says it was an instruments company. I never heard of it. De La Rue. Did you?
No, neither have I.
No, I thought it might be something we knew. It said his job was to run down the company.
You mean for closing it out? Like run
That's what I thought, So I'm thinking, is that a British term? And that's all it was in his bio. So it's like his job. He was hired in the 50s. His job was to run down the company. I thought, okay. And then went right into the cash machine. So it said he was lying in bed one day. He conceived the idea of a self-service cash machine whilst laying in the bath.
British love baths, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the bed. He was whilst laying. Well, it's because they don't have a shower. So he was. He said he was considering the problem of bank opening hours, having turned up at a bank after closing time, and found himself unable to withdraw money. So he said he was inspired by chocolate vending machines. He said it struck him that there must be a way to get at your own money anywhere in the world or in the UK. So he hit upon the idea of the chocolate bar dispenser, but replacing the chocolate with cash. So he pitched the idea to the head of Barclays Bank over a pink gin. I was wondering what a pink gin was.
Is that like
cranberry vodka? Cranberry? I don't know.
I don't know. We have a drink here, an old drink that used to show up on those diner placemats. A pink lady. It was some kind of a gin with. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it's the same thing. All right. So they had drinks over a pink gin, which is probably a small cocktail. Remember the glasses were small back then.
Can't get drunk on those. So they came up with the idea. So the first De La Rue automatic cash machine, DAX, was called Barclay Cash. It was installed outside the Enfield branch of the Barclays Bank in North London in June 1967.
'67. I don't think we had ATM here till
No, not
the
like the 80s.
'80s. Yeah.
Said the first person to withdraw cash was actor Reg Varney, a celebrity resident of Enfield, known for his part in a number of popular television series. And then after the UK, there was deployment of a machine. The first one took place in Zurich in November of '67. It was called the Geldautomat. And so these first machines used check-like tokens, and they had been impregnated with a radioactive compound of carbon-14. And this radioactive signal was detected by the machine, and it matched your personal identification number, which was your PIN that you would enter on a keypad. It said the short-range beta emission from the carbon could easily be detected, and it determined that the radiation hazard was acceptable because you'd have to eat 136,000 of these for it to have any effect on you, the radiation.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of odd. So they said initially the pin.
Thank you for saying that, because that's a funny aside that the radiation was used to somehow verify your PIN code. But okay.
But yeah, but they didn't think it was, it was negligible. The PIN numbers were initially supposed to be 6 digits. But Shepard checked it out on his wife, and she couldn't remember 6 digits, and they found out that 4 was easier. So that's how the 4 became standard. His wife couldn't remember 6.
Seriously,
result,
we have 4-digit pins because John Adrian Shepard Barron's wife couldn't remember 6, which is a good way of doing research. Like, hey, honey, remember
the
6.
pin length of 6 digits was proposed. Shepard Barron tested the system on his wife, Carolyn, found that the most she could remember was 4.
Same
As
here.
a result, the 4-digit pin was chosen for ATMs, which expanded across the globe and is now considered the world standard.
She created a standard. Okay, this
and
is
he won
cool.
He won the Order of the British Empire. He died. At 84 years old. And May 15th, 2010, they said after a brief illness in Scotland. It doesn't say what he died of.
84 is not a bad age. It would have been cool if he, made it to 94. But I just think that that's a good birthday because, look what came out of it. Not only did the machine come out of it, right? But also the notion of the 4-digit PIN. I mean, that might be the most important part of this is not only did the machine, he invented the thing that gave you the money, but he goes and field tests the 6 on his wife. And she said, honey, I can't remember 6 numbers, but how about 4?
How about 4 digits? Okay. Yeah.
Question for you.
Pins are for a lot of things.
A lot of things. Are you still using the same PIN number used in college? Because the first time I ever had a bank card was college, and the first time I ever had a PIN number was freshman year of college, and I'm using the same exact PIN code.
That's pretty good, John. I don't know. That's a good question.
Have you changed yours, in other words?
I don't think I had a PIN in college. We were writing checks. We were still writing checks. I was in rural Ohio.
Yeah, well, I had to cash checks at the student union, and there was a cash machine at the student union. I remember I got my first checking account in Binghamton, and I remember going to the pub and running out of cash, and someone's like, go to the cash machine, Nash, get a 5. You'd go and take 5 out, right? Like, beep, 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 $5. Little bill would come out, and that was enough for another beer or two. So what a good birthday. The cash machine and the 4-digit PIN number. Wow.
And here's what a pink gin is, John.
You looked it up?
You should know this. Yes, a pink gin is a cocktail made fashionable in England in the mid-19th century, consisting of Plymouth gin and a dash of Angostura bitters, which is the dark red bitters that makes the whole drink pinkish. A lemon rind is used commonly as a garnish.
All right, so
give it a little citrus oil and a subtle complementing flavor.
Plymouth gin,
so it's gin
a
and
dash of bitters, and a lemon rind to complete the. I think this is cool. I'll mention it to Bob as he's the gin guy. I'm a vodka guy. I used to like gin in college until I got one night on gin. You don't wake up the next day and want to drink gin again for quite a while.
I've been having gin and tonics with our friends Carl and Lisa. And Mark. Now Mark drinks his gin. Mark was in London for so many years. He drinks his gin and tonics with lemon,
not lime.
Instead of lime. Nope, it's all lemons, and actually it's quite good.
And have you decided you like gin again?
Yeah, I've been having them with them.
Okay. I've always enjoyed a gin and tonic. I do know though that they pack a bit of a different punch than vodka does. Am I wrong about that?
I think you should try it again.
All right.
Don't have 10, but go by the rule of two's enough, three's too many.
Mm-hmm. Or I'll take the rule of my housemate from the Pines, Sister Trish, and say 1-to-1. So you have one clear beverage, gin and tonic, vodka tonic, then you have a seltzer with the same fruit arrangement, so people think you're still drinking. Then you come back for the second cocktail while everybody's on the third, and you see where this goes. By the time someone's on 4 or 5, you're on 2 or 3, and then the beans get spilt. So there you go.
That's how you got all this dirt.
Exactly.
So our shop talk today is Mr. Nash had found this story about 25 corporations marking Pride donated over $10 million to anti-gay LGBTQ plus politicians, according to this study. We touched on this a little bit last week and a little bit during the month of June, in that many of these corporations find themselves in kind of in a quandary in that they want to be supportive of the LGBTQ consumer as well as their internal employees. And but they also make political donations, and in many cases, John and I often say they've got to support both sides. And here is a story where they look at some very, very large corporations, where in some cases they've given, which surprised me, millions of dollars in some cases to anti-gay politicians. Were you surprised by some of the dollar amounts in the politicians?
So I wasn't surprised by the giving pattern, and I wasn't surprised by the politicians. What did surprise me were the amounts of money. But you and I have talked about this exact topic for 20 years now, maybe. It comes up, you and I will have a cocktail, or it will come up, or someone will mention the HRC thing, and how dare this company do that. And you have always said to me very smartly, companies play both sides of the line because you don't know who's going to win. And corporations operate in states that require them to work with legislatures, and you want to have a good relationship. And I get it. And this article, though, points out things like, a Walmart, for example, whose website features a Pride and Joy section, has donated at least $442,000 to 121 politicians who received a 0 from HRC. So while Walmart may try to get a 100% score, the people they donate to aren't even on the register because they're anti-LGBT. And some of the people that have been given to from a CVS or a Xfinity or a Comcast, they are some of the people that are putting forward some of this legislation in different states for anti-trans or trans athletes, the bathroom bills, the whole bit. So, it's interesting. Like here's a CVS.
Yeah, the Comcast one to me was shocking. It says Comcast has donated more than $1.1 million to anti-LGBTQ plus politicians since 2019, including $30,000 to sponsors of anti-trans legislation in Florida and Texas, and close to $1.1 million to 149 members of Congress marked 0 by the HRC. And Comcast has done all this publicity around all of this internal programs they have. They have this board of all these LGBTQ experts, supposedly, that are supposedly guiding them in their efforts. A couple of clowns we know that are on the board. So I don't know. Part of me part of me understands that the companies, as you said, you have to play both sides. But also, I think there are some cases where you could certainly say, okay, I don't know. Maybe you are a little more discerning with your efforts, or maybe you just I know with the dollars when we were at Subaru, we stuck to healthcare initiatives, we stuck to education initiatives. We didn't get necessarily dig into the political realm so much. Who's going to be against education and healthcare, right?
You guys are really smart about that alignment, and I think that you just said something a moment ago that I really resonates with me. Intellectually, you understand what they're doing. Emotionally, right, though, the component that really sits poorly with me is they're talking about me. So I could like a corporation for what they're doing and how they support Pride and their internal policies for their employees and their employee resource groups. But then you read that there's that one that that eye drop popping 1.1 million from Comcast since 2019. We're not talking since forever. It's only a couple of years.
Right.
And then you're like, well, okay. And so it's a discordant thing. But, GM had a statement that they made. Very few companies responded to this reporter. I think it's from The Guardian, when they requested comment. And the GM said simply, its political contributions do not represent an endorsement of the candidate or support for all the issues the candidate supports, and we will continue to clearly communicate with policymakers GM's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was interesting. I guess they're trying to play both sides of the line. They're saying we don't support everything the guy's doing, and we will work hard to let him know that we care about these LGBTQ issues, but we're still going to write a check. But we still care.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't.
They care about diversity and inclusion, yet they fired all their minority agencies in 2008. But other than that, GM. I guess I would ask the question of this, or any of them. If any of these politicians were anti-Christian, anti-male, anti-Jewish, anti-African American, how would it be handled?
It's a great question because it goes to the root of what you've said for many, many years now. It's still okay to step on the LGBTQ community, to discriminate, to shuffle off the stage, do whatever you want to do. But you raise a fascinating point, right? What if it was blatantly something different than a politician's, I don't know.
What if the politician says I'm anti-male, or I'm anti-Christian, or I'm anti-Muslim, I'm anti-Jewish, I'm anti-gay, I'm anti-Asian? What if they said any of those other things?
Yeah.
What would happen to those corporations?
It would be kind of like Boston Scientific, right? This huge company that deals in science and scientific instruments, supporting candidates who believe the Earth is flat. It's a terrible analogy, but like, how could you say this? And yeah, it's crazy.
That's one of my favorite memes. The Flat Earth Society.
Mm-hmm.
We have members from all around the world.
All around the world, yeah.
Members from all around the globe. Flat Earth Society. But I was shocked by the level of involvement that CVS had, and I was also shocked by Comcast. Those were the two that stuck out for me.
Yeah.
AT&T. There's so many regulatory issues that they're constantly trying to pay off politicians to get their lines put up, right?
Mm-hmm.
5G, 6G, 10G, whatever they need to do, put up the poles. And some of these other companies.
Yeah, but AT&T's numbers were not eye-popping. 12,000, 4,000, right. 22. It's when you get up to the Comcasts of the world or the CVSs that are giving 250,000, 1.1. Those numbers are eye-popping, considering what they're up to, right?
Yeah. So I don't know.
You do know. It's all so hypocritical. You do.
Yeah. And then this other story, you and I, there's kind of on to this though. Just as you and I had talked on our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned on Tuesdays. We talked about how companies are getting people back into the office, and
this is a bit of a flip though, because this is workers who are deciding, having worked from home, they don't want to go back, or they've worked from home, they're tired of it, they've saved money, and a lot of experts in the HR field feel that we're in for the great resignation wave that's going to start happening as people start figuring out where they want to be, what they want to do, and who they want to do it for. And this also comes smack into the fact that I think we have 9.3 million jobs available in the U.S., and they're just sitting empty. And there was an article I read this morning about someone saying that he's been out of work for a while, and someone just said to him, "Why don't you just go work at McDonald's?" And he said, "That's not my career." The guy's an economist, right? Like, okay, so he can go flip burgers, but that's not what he, and he would never earn what he earned being an economist. Right. So, yeah.
And I did understand there was a couple of people that worked in the hospitality business, and they decided that they started their own landscaping company because they decided they wanted to be outside more, or spend more time outside. But there are people, particularly in hospitality and some of the more vulnerable professions, that got really, really hurt during the event, that might want to have, either careers or jobs that are less volatile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe less exposure. So I get that, but I do know that you had mentioned some friends that you know that were tired of kind of waking up and working where they live and where they sleep.
Yeah,
And
Bob's cousin. Oh no, sorry, one of Bob's uncle's son worked near Wall Street downtown. He was in New York for most of the event. He would wake up every day. The screens were there. He was in finance. So he saw, I could do this from South Carolina. I could do this from Georgia. I could do this from a southern state where it's warmer and nicer climate. Moved doing the same job. But yeah, I mean, when he realized when his bedroom became his office, became his everything, right? It's just, yeah.
well, I think it's tough for cities like New York or San Francisco, or where particularly housing is very expensive.
Yeah.
And to have to actually live and work into that space. Whereas, as you said, it's good sometimes to just get out and get away from the from your apartment and get out into the open and do some
The end of this article.
socializing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's random socializing. Hello, how was your weekend at the office? The whole bit. There was a positive spin on this article, though, in that the authors believe that the big churn, as they call it, could ultimately be good for workers and employers. And they feel that that's because people are going to now look for things that are more aligned with what they want to be doing, or that are in a part of the country where they want to be now that they've had to relocate because of all the stuff that's happened the past 14 or 15 months. So, it could be a bit of a renaissance for the American worker or the American work experience. I think everybody's going to take a wait-and-see attitude because, we mentioned this as Tim said on the podcast Tuesdays, TFG Unbuttoned, about banks and financial institutions and many companies getting people back to work. And there's difficulties there. And this kind of goes hand in glove with that, but this is a little bit different because this is the employee side saying, hey, we might not want to do this anymore. Mr. Bennett, we're going to wrap it up here. This is the end of the show. I feel like with Pee-wee's Playhouse, we should have the scooter come out and shoot off. And I used to always hate when this show ended. But we want to thank our friends at Deep Discount for joining us here on the Focus Group. Go to focusgroupradio.com, click on the Deep Discount logo, and start your shopping. It's a site-wide sale. I recommended the movie Jeffrey in honor of Pride. Happy Pride for the last time. Top of the Pride for the last time. Until next year. And Tim recommended a movie I love, and I'm so glad he picked it, called Argo. And Diana at 60 is the release this week. It is a look at her life that could have been, I suppose, and it's a biography documentary. So everybody, stay safe, have a good week, and we will see you in the new one.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.